Welcome back to the Rooted in Christ podcast. This week, we have a special guest with us, our friend Carlos. Carlos, will you introduce yourself a little bit? Just kind of tell us like your name, your major, where you're from, your religion background. Just kind of give us a little overview on you.
Absolutely. How's it going, everyone? So it's Sydney. My name is Carlos. I don't think you need my last name, but maybe my social security. Just kidding. My major is finance and marketing. I'm double majoring, double minoring. YSU. I went to a small community college up north, Snow College, and I really liked it up there. It was great, and I had a great time. So decided to come down. And I'm from Mexico, born and raised. I was born in northern Mexico, in a pretty big city, actually, over 1 million people. But I moved to the south when I was like 3 years old. And it was small. It was really small. And I liked it a lot. I rode my bike everywhere. It was real nice. And then religious background, when I still remember that day. It's a whole story behind it. I don't know if you want me to tell the whole story.
Sure, let's
hear it. Yeah.
It's funny. So I was raised Catholic in Mexico, but not a lot of people, like, it works pretty different down there. Most people are Catholic, but you don't really go to church. You don't really practice it. You don't read the Bible. It's more like you just go out and like you go to church on like Christmas and Easter, and that's about it. And if you go, like, most people don't even go. There's some people who are very into it, but my family wasn't. And it's a long story, but I'll make it really short. When I was about 9 years old, my parents started to like having arguments and stuff, and it wasn't a good environment. So they split it off for a little bit, and then they came back together, and then they were together, but it wasn't very healthy for the family. And then when I was about 11, I went through a really tough time in my life, and I think I had a lot of questions in the back of my mind because we went to a lot of different churches. I remember going to a Catholic church, talking to like all kinds of people, and they try everything to like kind of save their marriage. They went to psychologists, they did therapy, they did all kinds of stuff, and things didn't seem to be getting better. And then it's gonna sound really tough, but one day I remember one of my friends, he came up to me, he's like, "Hey, like there's this Christian camp in an island in the Caribbean," and I was like, "Shoot, that sounds sick."
Yeah.
And he's like, "You should come over." I was there last year. It's beautiful, great time, like good people, and they feed you, and it's way cheap. And it was like back then, it was like $40. In like Mexican pesos, it was like so cheap too. Yeah. I was like, dang, for the whole trip for a whole week. So I was like, yeah, sign me up. And I was like, shoot, I'm gonna have a good time. I'm gonna be out there for like 6 days. It's gonna be great. And then I was like, I don't really care a whole lot about religion. I felt like I had been reading my Bible and stuff just because my parents were so into it for a little bit. But it just didn't make sense to me. I felt like it felt more like a to-do list. I'm like, shoot, I have to do all these things, right? And I'm like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And I remember they came when we had to go to a camp, and like an hour before we were getting ready to leave, I remember I got a phone call from one of my other friends who was also going to a camp, and he's like, "Hey, yeah, one of her friends passed away. She got shot."
Wow.
And I was like, "What?" And I couldn't believe it. Right? I mean, I was 15 years old at the time. It was just like, I don't know, how do you process that? And then my dad was like, "Do you still want to go to a camp? Like, you don't have to. You can stick around, and you can just go to her funeral and stuff." And I was like, "What?" And it was a small town, so I mean, everybody knew each other, and like my class size, there were like 12, 13 people, right? So we were pretty close with each other. And then I don't know why, but like at that moment, like I didn't really process it. I was like, what the? I felt like they were lying to me, right? I felt like someone was playing a game and they were waiting to like tell me the truth about it. And then I was like, I'm gonna go. I was like, I'm just gonna go to a camp. I don't know. And I showed up. I got on the bus, and I don't know, but like it hit me right as I got on the bus. Like I was like, I just got all sad and everything. And I was like, crap, what am I doing here? I called my mom and I'm like, I don't know why I got on this bus. Like, I hate it. And she's like, relax, you're going to be fine. Like, and she talked to me all throughout it, I remember. And I was just bawling in that bus, just like sitting on the back, just like all sad. And I didn't want to eat for a little bit and stuff. Anyways, I got to the camp and it was great. Like, people were really happy. People were really nice to me. But I couldn't match their energy. They were overly happy. I was like, what the heck? What's going on? And I was all sad, just sitting there by myself, like angry, and I couldn't fall asleep either. And I was like, and I remember little by little, I started like getting out of my shell and just like going out and a little bit more. And long story short, I remember one time we were walking to a fire, and this girl, she came up to me and she's like, hey, so when do you accept Christ in your life? And I was like, what? It's like when I was little, I was like, I got baptized when I was like 2 years old. And she's like, no. She's like, no. When do you get to know him? She's like, when do you like get to know him personally, like a friend? And I was like, I guess. I was like, I don't know. I think I've known him my whole life. And she's like, all right. And then like, she just got me thinking. And I was like, dang, do I really know him like a friend? Like, not just like a religion? And then, anyways, I remember one of the head pastors came up the stage and he talked about grace. Right. And I don't know why, but I had never heard about grace before and how it was God's gift, right? And that is nothing we can earn. It's just like he just gave it. He gives it freely because he loves us, right? And I remember that time, like something clicked. And it just clicked. And I don't know how to explain it, but it just clicked. And I felt a lot of peace. And it just felt like, I was like, shoot, like he just loves me. Like there's nothing I can do to make him love me any less or any more. It's just there for me. It's like my parents' love, or like so much greater. And then I went home and I just felt like a whole different person. And that's when April 26, 2019, that's when I accepted Christ in my life. So that's the story.
Oh my gosh. Thanks so much for sharing that, Carlos. That's an incredible story.
Thank you.
And I think Syndey can attest, but we have moments in our lives that kind of like are a huge moment as far as accepting Jesus Christ and coming unto him. And I'm sure Syndey and I also have our own experiences that way too, but there's definitely a moment, whether it's big or small, but there's a moment where you have to decide for yourself. You talked about that in your experience that you shared, that you had to come to know him, you had to decide. That's so powerful and such an incredible experience. So you're here at SUU, you're involved in a lot of things. I've seen you in the business building a lot. You're involved in a lot of clubs. You're involved with country dance, which is super fun.
It is.
For the whole campus to come out to.
Thursday nights.
Heck yes. Everyone needs to come. If you're listening, you go to SUU. You're a super busy guy. How do you keep your faith in Jesus Christ living such a busy college life? Yeah.
I don't think, it's just like everything in life, right? There's ups and downs and everything. And I don't think it's just like, it's like a steady, like I wouldn't say like there's just like I'm doing like perfectly every time, right? There's definitely times when I feel really good. And I'm like, gosh, like we're doing great. Like everything is going awesome. Like hanging out with my friends and I have free time and I get to be here. And there's definitely times when I feel like overwhelmed or stressed. Or like a little anxious about getting things done or like behind in classes, right? So there's this verse about Paul. I don't remember if it's in Philippians or Philippines. What's it called?
Philippians, yeah.
Philippians or Corinthians. He talks about like the race and how like we're not there yet.
Yeah.
And we haven't achieved perfection yet, but we keep on pressing towards that, right? And we keep our eyes on Christ, who is our prize, right?
Yeah.
When we let go of every weight that slows us, it slows us down. So I think it's a lot like that. I don't think it's about like always getting everything right all the time, but remaining faithful because his faithfulness lasts forever, right? So always like acknowledge and be like, holy crap, like I haven't called my parents in like 4 days or like a week or whatever. I need to call them, or like taking that time to reflect and be like, well, that didn't go very well. And sometimes be like, you gotta be forgiving of yourself as well. Be like, well, I tried my best, but that didn't work out, or at least I tried, right?
Right.
And there's times when I do things that I'm like, crap, why did I do that? Right? I messed up completely. And I think that's the beauty of our Creator. Like, He's just so forgiving and merciful that I don't think He cares about us being perfect, but He cares about having our heart all the time. So
That's huge. I love how you bring up the heart. I'm sure a lot of listeners out here, they may be in a, like you mentioned, it's an up and down.
yeah, 100%.
You mentioned that it's not always a perfect, but what he wants you to try, and he wants your heart, which I think is so profound. What advice would you give to listeners that are maybe in that down spot, that are maybe in that spot right now where they're struggling, or they're kind of just not feeling it. They're kind of at a low point as far as sticking with Jesus Christ? What would you say?
Absolutely. I actually got a little story about that. You think we got time for that?
For sure, yeah.
Let's hear it. We have plenty of time.
So when I came from Snow College, I don't know, obviously, like, I come from a different cultural background, and things are done pretty differently from where I come from. And I was like, when I come to SCU, I was like, I need to get things done. And I got pretty organized, which was good, right? I came here with like lots of like to-do lists and like plans, and like I was making sure that everything was working out perfectly. And I sat down like every Sunday and did like my financial planning, and like I planned my time out, and like every single minute I was like, I'm gonna go to the gym this hour, I'm gonna go to class this time, and whatever. And I planned everything out. I was like, I want to make sure I cover everything. I remember after that first semester here, it was good. It was a great semester, but I went home back to my family, and I talked to my sister, and I started bawling. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I was like, I just don't feel fulfilled. And she's like, Carlos, I know what's going on. And I was like, what do you mean? You haven't even been there. She's like, I know you. And I was like, what? And she's like, you're demanding too much from yourself. She's like, you're just overly working yourself. And you can't do that to yourself. And that's when it clicked in my head. I was like, and that's what wisdom is all about, right? Knowing when it's enough. And there's actually an example of this in the Bible that it talks about Paul. When they were in Acts, they talk about how like they were on a boat. And they hadn't been eating for the last couple of days. I don't remember how many days, right? And they were heading to Macedonia or somewhere. It was a little island. And how like they hadn't eaten anything, and then they found food, and they ate. And after that they ate, they threw the food away. They just threw all of it away because it was slowing down the ship. And I remember hearing a pastor talk about this, and he's like, there's times when you have too much and you just got to get rid of the extra, right? And my sister talked to me, and she's like, you're doing too much. She's like, you got to take it easier on yourself. And I hate doing that because I'm like, I always like to go. And that's when I acknowledged, I was like, shoot, it's good to work, but there's times when work gets too much, right? And there's also times when work gets too little and you have to work a little more. But in my case, I think I was going through a process when it was getting too much. And I think it depends on every person, right? There's people who like to go really, really, really fast, and they're okay with that. And there's people who like to go slower, and they like to analyze and think, and everybody's different. So my advice is like, if you find yourself you're going too fast and you don't have time for what matters the most, like talking to your friends, like being with your family, and going to church and doing all the things you love, you probably need to slow down a little bit more.
Right.
And if it's the opposite, if you have way too much time, if you're going to your parents like every other day, right, you might need to speed up a little more. So,
dang, that's awesome.
I love that. Anyone that knows Carlos knows that he is such a light in so many people's lives. He really does have the light of Christ that shines off of him. And I feel like one of the ways that Carlos helps other people be rooted in Christ is just through his kindness and through his light. Connor is going to share a quick scripture with us about being a light in others' lives, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, this is found in Matthew chapter 5, we're going to go verse 14. And I've only kind of seen you in passing, Carlos. I don't know as well as Syndey does, but this just impressed me that this is something that represents you, that I've seen in you. It says, "Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. And I don't know why, Carlos, but this verse for sure definitely made me think of you when I've seen you like at country dance and just passing the halls. And I feel like you were a great sociable person, but you're just a good example of letting your light shine. And you mentioned it's not always easy. There's days where you struggle. But could you maybe speak a little more on this as far as letting your light shine? Because I feel like you're someone that does this quite well. Is this just a natural thing? I think you kind of were speaking about that. It's kind of maybe the way you are, or what do you think?
Thank you. That's very kind of you. It really is. All of you. Dang, I feel touched now. Holy cow. You guys are making me cry. And honestly, I don't know. In my mind, I don't think I'm doing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like I feel like I've just done what I've been taught, especially as a little kid. Like I say, my family was pretty dysfunctional. We never really grew up going to church or anything like that. Something that I remember very well is my mama reading me the Bible every single night. She always did it, at least when I was a little kid. She read it, like, I always ask her, like, Mom, tell me a story. She'll pick up the Bible and be like, oh, I read you a lot of stories. And I was like, one more, Mom. And I don't know, I feel like I have really good examples of that. My parents are not perfect. They did a lot of things that are not right. But obviously, like, I'm no one to judge them or myself or anybody else. But if there's one thing I remember is that when I was coming to the U.S., my family didn't have a lot of resources in Mexico. We had enough. I think so. We had enough to go to the theaters and go do a couple other things. And I remember the first person that I told I wanted to come to the U.S. was my dad. And I was afraid to tell anyone else, even my mom. And I told my dad, and at first he was like, what the heck? He was like, what are you thinking? Because no one in my family has gone out of the country, right? And then I started studying. I remember I got my SAT exam guide, whatever. And then I started studying English and doing all these things and just staying up late and telling my dad about it. And I was just talking his ear off. And I remember sitting down with him and telling Dad, I want to do this. And there wasn't one single time when he say no. There wasn't one single time when he's like, he's like, no, it's not even possible. Of course, at first he thought I was crazy. And I guess what I'm trying to say with this is that, I don't know, my dad, he works a lot. Mm-hmm. He works in oil drilling, but he's one of technicians. And I don't know what it is, but he started working when he was 7, 8 years old. His hands are really, they're not soft anymore. And mine are soft, right? And then my grandma on the other side, on my mom's side, her marriage didn't go so well either. And my grandpa was an alcoholic and did a lot of bad things. So my grandma had to work. And she went to work at all the tomatoes, she packaged them and they'll ship them all around the world. So she would be on the packaging line. And she will work every single day from 6 a.m. to midnight, right? And then on the weekends, she will have to iron shirts for people. And that's how she made a living for her and her family. And there were 6 of my uncles and my aunts. And I don't know. I just feel I think in life you either push and shine your light, right? Or you, I don't know, or you kind of stay behind. But I feel like I've got really good examples in my life that I matter a lot, and that's what it's all about, right? Just being there for each other. And I think my dad did that, my mom did that, and my grandparents did that, and it's all about, that's what it's all about in life, just being there close to people and being able to give somehow.
Yeah.
So
that's incredible. It sounds like, a lot of what you're saying is that push for that light, like you're saying, put in that effort, that time. But when you're struggling with your light, definitely look to those other people.
Absolutely.
For you, that's your family. That's where you've come from. That's your heritage.
Yeah.
That has helped you with your light that you have today. So that's incredible. Thank you for sharing that.
I just have a question for you. Do you have any, I guess, advice of like how others can shine their light or to be a light in others' lives?
I mean, I think everybody's light is different, and that's the beauty about who we are. And especially coming out here when I first came to the U.S., at least not in Utah, but like bigger cities, like I was like, dang, people are different. And I think that's the beauty of like human nature and how we were created, right? That everybody has a different personality and a different destiny, and I believe there's a perfect plan for each person, and that everyone is meant to accomplish something, right? Not that accomplishment is gonna make us any better in God's eyes, but like that's how we were meant to shine our light, right? Jesus talks about how it's more blessed to give than to receive. Obviously, everybody needs to receive as well, but going back to that, I think it's all about like just getting to know yourself. And I don't think nobody knows us better than Jesus, right? It's like I don't know, somehow kind of like I was saying earlier, my mom and my sister, my oldest sister, like they know me pretty well.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I feel like my mom knows me a lot better than myself. And there's times when I feel something that I won't tell anyone, and I'm on the phone with my mom, and she's like, all right, tell me, what's going on? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I can hear in your voice. I was like, what? Or like when I FaceTime her and she just like sees my eyes, right? And I think that's just the beauty of like being surrounded by the people who love you. And I think it all starts with your creator, the person who designed you even before you were born, who like looked at you and he's like, and that's the thing we don't realize so often, that I think Jesus is like our biggest fan. He's like always there, like cheering us up, like rooting for us. And he's like always watching, like always planning everything and be like, all right, today we're going to go do this, and we're going to make this great. We're going to make this awesome. You're going to meet all these people, right? And I think once we rely on that and we are like, so who am I? And he's going to be like, oh, I've been waiting for you to ask this question. Let me tell you.
Wow.
And he just guides you and you just trust the process.
Yeah, that is an amazing answer. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think it's definitely true. I think we all have the light of Christ in us, and it's just up to us to be willing to let it shine and to be a light in others' lives and to notice and accept others' people's being the light in our lives.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's incredible what you shared. There's a lot of, especially in today's world, there's a lot of different identities. I feel like a lot of people feel like they need to fit in, blend in. Like you shared, Jesus Christ is our biggest fan, and he knows us perfectly.
Oh, yes.
And just like you said, go to him. Like what better person to be rooted to, because he's going to tell you exactly who you are.
Absolutely.
And in today's world, that is huge. So I'm so glad that you touched on that and brought that up.
Yeah.
I think, are we good to kind of start wrapping things up here?
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any like last closing remarks, advice, or anything that you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, and at least I was thinking about this yesterday. I was like, it's been 4 years since I've been away from my family. I do go back home and see them every once in a while. And I was like, crap. I'm like, what has brought me through it? And I'm like I've been 4 years away from my family. I'm gonna close my eyes one of these days. It's gonna be like 12, and then hopefully it's gonna be like 18, and then 30. And I'm like, time flies, right? And I don't want to live in the future, but I'm like, what's my reasoning to be here, right? And I think at the end of the day, like, we all have to go through that question, be like, why are we here? Like, do I just want to get a nice job and like just make good money, which I don't think is very fulfilling, or do I just want to go to school? Like, what do I want to do with this life, right? And what's like the number one priority that I'm searching after, that I'm seeking after? And if it's really love, then why are we should be pursuing that, right? And I don't know. I think at the end of the day, there's this verse on the Bible that talks about how like the whole law is fulfilled by carrying each other's burdens. And I think that's just the beauty of life. Just being there for each other and like getting to know each other, right? And knowing that when you get to know someone, there's times when it's going to be rough. There's times when you're going to have conflicts. There's times when you have disagreements, and that's fine. I think it's better to like get to know someone, have those disagreements, and then work through them, and then become better friends, than just like live a life where you are just uninterested in like other people's life, right? Or worse yet, Jesus' lives, right? So I don't know. I think that's what it's all about: just being present and being there for one another, and just living life as a team, right?
Yeah.
And just looking out for each other. And that's just the beauty. And I mean, Christ, he showed that with every step he took on earth. I don't think there was anything he did that wasn't to love everybody else and give. And that's the beauty of love, right? Like the Good Samaritan, like if you see someone in need, you stop. You acknowledge the need and you get close to them, right? You can love from a distance, and then you help them out. And what the Good Samaritan did is that he went the extra mile. He didn't just help him. He like took him to an inn and he paid. And he's like, if the bill runs higher, I'll pay for it. And I think that's the beauty, to love, and then after that, love more. And if they don't love you, you still love them even more, right? So I think that's just the beauty of Jesus.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carlos, for being on our podcast this week. Your story is so beautiful, and thank you for being willing to share it and to be a light in so many other people's lives. Yeah, we are excited to continue to interview new people. We have a couple amazing people lined up for the next couple of weeks. So, yeah, make sure to listen in. And
Awesome. Thanks again, Carlos. It's been a pleasure to visit with you. Your stories are incredible. You have amazing light.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys next time.